Hey guys, welcome. I'm going to be joined by Jamie Grossman from Gibson Sotheby's International Realty. Thank you everyone for always tuning in. Let's see, waiting here for Jamie. There she is. Hey Jamie. Hi Ariana. Jamie, I just sent you a request. There you are.
Here I am. Took me a little moment.
No, you did good.
You know?
So glad we're doing this.
Yeah, me too. Good to see you. I was a little okay.
Likewise.
We're here, we're here, we're here.
We got this.
We got trying to
um,
set myself up. So thanks
no,
for doing this.
thank you for being here. I hope we can provide some valuable content, value add to everyone. I did a quick intro, but Jamie is Jamie Grossman with Gibson Sotheby's International Realty. Um, she specializes in the luxury market, but I'm going to let you do most of that talking, Jamie. If you can tell us a little about yourself
Okay.
and how you got started, and then we'll take it off from there.
All right, well thank you. This is fun and my first live, so you'll
I love it.
figuring everything out, my angles and everything. I've been in the off and on in the real estate industry for probably close to I was a sales agent in the Back Bay in the late 80s and early 90s, believe it or not. Then I got away from that. I have three beautiful grown daughters and focused on raising them, and was in the kind of renovation space doing some apartment building renovations and then my own personal homes as I've traveled through upsizing and through downsizing. And then a few years ago, I decided to come back to residential sales because I had gone through raising my family, needing more space, getting divorced, needing less space, the kids moving off. What do you do with all of your belongings? How do you figure out what you're going to take with you through life? How do you know where you're going to put your head at night, which is really important to me. I think it's really, my tagline is always love where you live, and I really mean it. I think it's really important for people to feel secure and happy and have some peace where they live. So that's been the best part of this journey for me, is kind of coming back to that. And really, I think I lead with a lot of empathy because I've had a lot of moves, and it's a stressful,
You do.
exciting and stressful.
And I was gonna say, every time I talk to you, it's like, I'm assuming this is most people that talk to you. You kind of like calm down. You have this, attitude that just makes you calm down.
Well, that's the goal.
It's perfect. And what are the areas that you're currently serving? Like, I personally do, but for people that don't hear.
Yeah, I live in Newton, Massachusetts. I live on West Newton Hill, and I raised my family in Weston, Massachusetts. So I have been living in this area, like I said, for the past 3 decades. So I'm mostly focused in Metro West of the Boston area, and I've had quite a journey. You kind of go where your clients need you to go. So I might know somebody from where I live, but then they're looking someplace else. They want to expand. They want to move. So I've been in Stowe, Mass, and Hopkinton. I've looked in Boston. It really depends what the clients are looking for. I think that people say it's great to be an expert in your neighborhood. I think that's true. It's great to be an expert, but I don't like to be too short-sighted or too closed-minded about it. I want people, to be able to travel as far as they need to find the house that they want.
And I know that you have clients from other states too, that like you're helping whenever they're coming back, or I mean, maybe tell us a little bit about being part of the Gibson Sotheby's International Realty family,
Yeah,
and what that's like.
Gibson Sotheby's is incredible. It's the largest privately owned real estate company in Massachusetts, but they're under the Sotheby's International Real Estate umbrella. So our reach is national, is global. We have connections all over the place. Yesterday, I spoke to someone who's looking to buy an investment property in Puerto Rico, and he had identified the property but really wanted to make sure that he had a trusted, resource on the ground in Puerto Rico. We'll need financing in Puerto Rico, and we spoke about that. So I
Yep.
was able to connect with the Sotheby's agent, and then throughout the transaction, I will keep in touch with that agent. Not only the client, who I know, and he can call me with any questions or help, but I'll be able to talk to that agent, and he'll know that someone else that he knows and trusts is looking out for him. So that was fun. I did the same thing for a client of mine in Vermont who was looking to buy a condo and wanted to make sure she was working with a trustworthy. We get a bad rap, about not being trust. Everyone wants to know, we can be very trustworthy. So,
But that's something. Do you have clients that, ever since you've started, or that you've seen, that their whole entire life progress over the past, like 30 years and move like from one state to another?
well, I wasn't in this. I took a huge break in residential sales to raise my family, and there's only one client who I connected with in it's a very small world. Her sister is one of the sales agents at the St. Regis property in Boston, which is an absolutely spectacular opportunity. She was my first sale in like 1988, so I got to chat with her. But I don't, what I really experience more is my friends, my community, what people are doing. Obviously, this year's been really strange. Many of us, we're empty nesters, and this is the time to be moving on, and people aren't really sure where to go.
Yep.
That's definitely one of the biggest questions that I've been asked. It's like, well, we don't know where to go. I think that hopefully will start to
Yeah.
change. And people have second homes. They're starting to sell their suburban homes, thinking this is certainly a good time to be a seller.
Yeah, that's a great transition. I mean, what are some of the things that have been happening the past year during the pandemic in the luxury market, in the Metro West, area, wherever you've served? And I mean, I know you have some beautiful listings. I mean, is it taking longer? I mean, we're also covering to, like, there's also bidding wars in the luxury market too, not just the, the.
It's true. I'm literally working on that as we speak. We were you hear all about properties under $1 million, which is still a lot of money. Six, seven, $800,000 is a lot of money, and then around here doesn't carry you very far. I really have I really feel for the buyers out there who are struggling to figure out where they're going to land, and it
Yeah.
also can happen in some of the higher priced areas. I've had two experiences where we're talking, several $1 million, and there's a competing offer.
Wow.
There's a lot of cash out there, and then there's a lot of want out there. So what we're finding, I think that's just a result of the inventory. Properties that have been sitting for a really long time, all of a sudden people are getting a little nervous, like maybe we shouldn't wait for more to come on the market because maybe nothing's coming on the market. So you better grab it. And some of personally, I think my best advice for people is to really be ready and not to drag your feet too much. If you really see the house, there's always another house.
Yep.
There's always another house. But if you see the house, buy the house. That's what I say. If you like the house, buy the
And
house.
it's smart. I mean, do you think that because of prices being where they are now, folks are, like, uncertain, like, hey, do I want to sell my house or wait for more inventory in the market? And that's kind of like been like kind of like a chain. Everyone's thinking the same, most likely.
Well, I think one of the reasons people aren't selling is because they don't know where to go. But the people that are selling are seeing the benefit from that. I was talking to a friend of mine who bought in West Roxbury during COVID, and financing was very difficult during COVID, obviously. You know, some people were furloughed and they no longer qualified, but they had already put down deposits. I had some of that going on myself. And now they bought the place, and now it would be an outright bidding war. You know, they've been doing construction on it, and people are stopping by, oh, I wish I had bought that. I said, well, are you going to flip it? She said, no, then I'm still staying with my in-laws forever. So. But if you are a seller, or you're thinking about selling, or you don't mind renting, or you have some flexibility or a second home, it's people are looking for your house. I can tell you that. And the flip side of that is that some folks are kind of overpricing, thinking, oh, the market's so hot, my house is going to be worth so much more. I think some of that backfires, to tell you the truth. People
Yeah.
that are, you know, agents that are underpricing a bit, they're getting a lot of interest because there's this great value, and then oftentimes we're seeing properties bid up. If it's 2 or 3 bids or 10, doesn't matter, but they're being bid up, and the properties that are listed high, even at market value, are seen as high, and people are more reluctant to put the offer, and they think they have to make a full price offer. You don't. But you have to understand the market. You have to understand what you're looking at, and you have to understand if the price is a ceiling or a floor. You know, typically it's a ceiling. It's $500,000. I'll offer $450. I'll sell. We'll meet for $475. That's like a normal negotiation. Now it's, I'm going to price it $450, and I'm going to sell it for $550.
True.
It's hard for buyers to understand it because they don't want to add to the asking price, but in certain situations, you're going to add to the
Yeah,
asking price. I think that's hard mentally to do.
that's
But
true.
if you lose a few houses, you learn.
Yeah, I'm sure that all sellers and their agents have their own strategies that they're using during these days, but overall it seems like it's a great time to be a seller. So you're saying if you have like a plan or maybe a second home where you could sell your primary and maybe stay in your secondary residence. it,
Right. Catch
it's
your breath a little. People, you know, if you have a Cape house or a house in Vermont, you have flexibility. Everyone's work from home for now. Maybe you can kind of put the money in the bank. And then for the buyers, I think the buyers are, you know, people are a little too Zillow focused. And you know, Zillow gives an approximation of value.
Yep.
But Zillow, I always say Zillow doesn't go inside. Zillow doesn't know if it's renovated beautifully or if it's a complete mess. And I love representing buyers because I can do the homework. A good agent will do the homework on a purchase price the same as they would if they were selling the house. It's the same analysis. What's the value of the house? And what is the climate? And then
Yep.
help make the offer. So I think that the sellers are paying the commission, even though it's wrapped up in the purchase price. It is coming directly from the seller. Buyers shouldn't hesitate to have representation.
Yeah. I still see people without an agent, and it's just like mind blowing.
So you'll have people come to you for a loan and they've gone to an open house or whatever.
And they
And no
don't want to
one's,
use an agent because they think that they're going to negotiate a better price or whatever their thought process is. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense because they don't even, like they're not even scratching the surface on everything that's involved in the real estate process and buying. So it's like they're putting themselves at a big disadvantage. Um, but I mean, I get the part where they think that they can negotiate something down or, like,
well, they think they're saving the, you know, the commission.
but they're not. I mean,
But
it's not coming out of their end.
it's not coming in. They don't really know, and they don't really know what they could have gained by having, you know, a realtor represent them. Maybe they're not thinking of things. Would you include this? Would you include that? Can we negotiate this? Are we getting the best price? You know, sometimes agents, if you're a buyer, the agent is working for the seller. They're not working for you. They're going into dual agency, which means we become a neutral party. we can do it, but everybody's got to be very clear that now we're a neutral party. So we're just a transaction coordinator. That's not
Yeah,
really somebody fighting for you, you
I I,
know,
I completely.
advocating for you.
We've spoken together about having like a buyer representation and a contract. I know it's not very common in the industry. It seems like more and more agents are doing that. I mean, what are your thoughts about, your buyers having, a binding contract with you?
It's a great question. It just came up in our office meeting this week, and I'm a huge fan of it. We wouldn't list a property without a listing contract. I don't see why it should be different for buyers, because especially now when it's a seller's market, if you are a buyer, your agent is working very hard to try to find property, get you in the door, help you with an offer, negotiate the terms. Sometimes, agents like to work with agents they trust. So if you have a great relationship, or you can establish a nice relationship, a nice rapport with the seller's agent, even if you're just going to an open house with your client, you make some kind of a connection, and then you have the seller's agent saying, all right, I'm going to work with this person. I think she can get the job done, because we don't want to accept an offer and then have it fall apart. And then all those buyers that were clamoring through our door have left. Oh, something happened. It went back on market. Something's wrong. So the buyer's contract is the same as a listing contract. You should go and meet your agent, maybe have an afternoon of showings together, make sure you're a good fit, and then sign a commitment. And then you know that the buyer's agent is committed to you, and I know that you're committed to me. That I'm not going to do all this homework, provide all the comps for you, find all the properties for you, and then you're just going to go walk into an open house and buy a house, because that stinks. So I'm a fan of the buyer's agency, and I've been asking more and more clients to sign it, and there's really no hesitation. Then they know we're really working on it. We're in it together.
You
So I
know that
think
everyone's committed. I love that. I think you can do the trial and error, just like you said initially. Maybe do like a showing with a few realtors if you haven't decided on who your realtor is going to be. But ultimately, I mean, you have to decide who's going to be there for you. And me, if I am a buyer, like I would want to know that Jamie is going to be my realtor and I'm going to stick through and
you'll be a
through.
smart man.
But honestly, I mean, not just the loyalty piece, but now like you've done all the comps, you've done all this work, taken this client, on so many showings, and this person, let's say, uses a Redfin or a Zillow agent. I don't know if that's a thing, but
Not yet.
I don't know. I just don't, I've been in situations where clients may have went with another lender for or one reason or another. No, nobody likes that. I mean, mine is a little different because we're working with rates, but in your situation, it's like I would want to see commitment and loyalty up front.
Yeah, it's a strange beast that the general, agent community doesn't necessarily ask for them, but there are agents out there that won't work with any buyers without a buyer's contract. And so I'm 100% behind that. Often when people list their house, they'll interview 2 or maybe 3 realtors. It's a lot of your time. You got to tour someone through the house, and they got to come back and do their comps, or maybe it's the virtual tour or whatever. And it takes your time. But you could interview a couple of agents the same way. Google them, look them up on their website, meet them, ask them to show you a house or 2 that you've identified. It doesn't always have to be the realtor finding the house. It's the realtor helping you buy the house. I've had clients come to me and say, in Winchester, I have a great client. They identified the house, and they called me and said, we found the house. Can you help us buy it?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was Realtor.com that said there are over 200 transactions that an agent performs between contract and closing. Never mind all the comps and the showings and all this communication. I don't think the buyers really understand how much goes into getting to the finish line.
Yeah. And that's why we're here, to let them know and remind them on and on and on. And just like sellers are, let's say, requesting these days, to show a property to a qualified buyer,
Yeah.
that has a pre-approval. I think it's, similar, right, to have, someone commit up front for the next 90 days or, I don't know, 180. What is standard, would you say? 90 days to have like
I think
buyers?
90 days is fair because especially in this market, it can take time. I have a colleague that's written 6 offers for clients because they, you know, it's hard to win in these multi-bids unless you're really willing to up your price. I don't know if you saw in the Boston Globe last week, not in my office, but there was a home in Wayland that sold a couple $100,000 or so over ask. I mean, really, really, it was a beautiful house, but really, there was just the
Yep.
need is great, and they needed representation, no doubt, because otherwise, how are you going to differentiate yourself to the sellers? And sometimes I'll tell you, everybody, for the sellers, sometimes it's writing a personal note, which people have mixed feelings about. They feel like it doesn't
Yep.
level the playing field, but sometimes it's personal because sometimes for sellers, if they've been living in their house for a long time, it's not just about the money. They want to feel like they're passing their house on to, the next generation.
I
So
agree.
we write notes. We put a little more money toward down payments. The most important thing, and the first question I ask every single buyer in every single price range, no kidding, no matter how many millions you're going to spend, do you have your pre-qualification letter ready? Do you have proof of funds from the bank if you're a cash buyer? I need a letter from your brokerage. I don't need your account number, but I need something that say, yes, I have $2 million and I'm going to pay cash. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's for everybody. It's the most important thing that that I make sure you're doing it all the time.
And I think by asking these questions and really documenting things, and or in case of a buyer's agent contract, you're showing value, like you're showing this person that you're not messing around and that you're really taking this seriously into another level. I think most people will end up appreciating, and I'd love to see this happening more, because the loyalty is going to be greater, and ultimately I think transactions are going to move much faster in the industry if people are not flopping from one agent to another.
Well, you lose time too. When you work with a real estate agent, you get to know each other. They're not all personal friends of mine. They're people I meet in open houses, or they're people that call me from my website, or whatever it is. And it takes some time. You're out there working all day. Maybe you have a partner or a spouse, and they're not emailing me. You're emailing me. Take some time to kind of get together and realize what the real criteria might be. So if you're flopping from one real estate agent to the next, there's really nobody that says, I've got the perfect place for you and the
Yep.
market's hot, let's go get it.
Yep.
So I think buyers do themselves a disservice too.
Hey, we have a question from Joanne. Maybe you can take this. With offers going so far over ask, what's happening with the appraisals? Do you want to take that?
That's a great question. I don't know. Are you seeing anything come back to you, Sajid?
Yeah, yeah. I'm seeing some coming coming under. Yes, I am, and I would say it depends on the actual client. If you have someone doing 5 or 3.5% down, and they're limited on funds, the deal is dead. But if you're working with someone that's putting 20% down, or 10% down, going from, I don't know, 90% loan to value to 92, that may not kill the deal. But most of the time, I think most people will go back to the drawing table and renegotiate on the price. Depends how far off it is, but there are appraisals coming under,
A good
because
question.
there's not enough comps out there,
Well, I was just going to
for.
say the comps are weird. I'll go back 18 months for comps because if you just go back 12 months, literally the world shut down a year ago this month. So I'll go back 18 months or 24 months even and try to get a handle on it. That's a good question about the appraisals. So that's something for buyers to take into account too. that if they're in this
Yeah.
heightened market, you know, you really need to be looking under the price that you're qualified for. If you can afford, if you're pre-qualified for a $900,000 house, you might want to be looking for $800,000 houses, 840, so that because you might be spending 900 if it's being bid up, and it has to appraise, and you still need that 10% down or 12% down to help you pass the
That's so
appraisal.
smart. I mean, I think everyone should be doing that in this market right now. Every buyer. If you have a max pre-approval of 900, or if you know that your max budget is going to be, I don't know, 3 grand a month, you know, start bidding on houses that's going to cost you 2,500 and then work your way up. That's such a good point.
And
Because you're going to get outbid and you're going to get discouraged.
it is discouraging. It's heartbreaking, but I do say for any buyers, the right house will come along. You know, everything happens for a reason. And even if it's a frustrating process, it takes you longer. I feel like people eventually end up in the house where they were meant to be and they're happy. But you should listen
Right.
to your real estate agent, and if it's undervalued, you got to be ready to bid it up. And I'm telling you, this is at every price point. I had a situation recently. We lost out, you know, on a very high end property. There were two bids. So someone's always going to want it more. You can always sell the house to one person.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
the truth. That's the truth. What are you experiencing with the rate starting to change? There was some sort of in the news today.
Yeah, yeah, no, they've been on their way up for the past 2 weeks. The Federal Reserve is doing all it can to like calm the markets, you know, to make sure that, you know, rates stay low. But um, I think it's, you know, we were expecting that 2021 we'd have higher rates,
Yeah.
but not, you know, not this steep, you know, increase, you know, some as much as like 0.5%, I would say, in the past 2 weeks. So I think eventually, you know, it will be good for the market. You know, yes, um, borrowers, you know, would love to get the lowest possible rate, but we shouldn't forget that we've been on like a record low territory. So even if rates are at 3.5 or 4%, eventually, I think that's healthy for the markets to work the way that they should, and hopefully inventory coming back. That's one of the biggest issues. And I think sellers are afraid. They're like, where are we gonna go? So
I'm
uh,
hoping that opens up. I mean, now we have good news with the vaccine, and hopefully more and
huge.
more people will start to literally, you know, kind of come out of the woodwork. And if there have been grown children that have come home and lived, maybe they can go back to their lives. And maybe people will be really ready to divest themselves of these, you know, homes where they've raised their kids. And I think we're seeing it, you know, every week more homes are popping on the market, not
Yeah,
as in the past, but more.
yeah. We're far away from that million listings in the U.S. I mean, we're somewhere around like 300,000 to 400,000, which is, you know, historic lows, I believe.
Yeah.
But there should be more inventory. Hey, tell us a little bit more about your listings. I've been at Stonegate Lane in Westwood. That's
Yeah,
an absolutely amazing property.
we have Nine Stonegate Drive in Westwood is an amazing property, and we're actually working now on trying to rework even the narrative. You know, one of the things we do is try to figure out how to capture buyers' attention with a narrative. And that house is so much more than meets the eye. You saw it, but it is an understated home from the outside. It's a discreet home setting. You know, it's not a showy kind of place if you want some privacy and security. But beyond the gates, you know, the house kind of unfolds more and more and more, opens up as you walk through, with a gorgeous pool and a little cabin, and it's really a fun property.
The
But
cabin
you
is
know,
amazing. I mean,
the
that's just
cabin is
like
amazing.
it's like you're in a different, you know, you're not home anymore. It's like you went to Vermont or New Hampshire or
Right. We call it, a getaway without ever leaving home.
yeah.
But it's a beautiful home. It's 10,000 square feet. Every inch of it has been redone, remodeled, millwork, tile work, gas fireplaces, double stone fireplace, beautiful, year-round pool. Um, it's a treasure for somebody that's looking for that. I think that some of the Boston towns, Weston, Wellesley, et cetera, get a lot of attention for these more expensive homes. If it's not the school system that you're looking for, or that's not your particular commute, or whatever it is that makes it important for you, you think you have to be in this town, this is an incredible buy.
Oh,
Incredible buy. So,
100%.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful house. So, we're working on, we're working on a lot, and part of the process is helping sellers figure out, helping them talk about where they might go early on, helping sellers to figure out how to make their property look the best. And especially if you've been living in a house for a long time, that's really hard. I did that. Figuring out what to do with your photos and what to do with your art projects from your kids, and really how to clean out your home. I think that there's a lot of need, in our society right now, especially going through COVID. People have been jobless, homeless, not well. I think that we need to think about our belongings as repurposing.
Yep.
Give people the opportunity to enjoy what you're maybe not enjoying anymore. So I do a lot of that. I really try to work with the clients who really I can take them, whether they're buyers or sellers, from like the very beginning to the very end. It's not just, oh, my house is perfectly ready and painted and done and now come sell it. It's really from the first moment, like, where do we even start? How much time do we need? Do you have a mover? Can we store it? Do you have a plumber? Do you have a painter? It's everything.
Yep.
It's everything. So we're doing a lot of prep work now, even though it's the spring market. It's a bit of a delayed spring market, obviously.
Right. I've seen this, the organizing businesses kind of like bloom lately, and the repurposing businesses. I see it more and more on Instagram. I
Yeah,
even was listening to it on NPR this morning. Like finding the purpose for things that you don't need anymore. Uh,
yeah.
and sometimes it's just good to move on, but
It's a better way of thinking about it. To me, it's an easier way of letting go of something that maybe you once treasured. It could be furniture or something that was hanging on your wall, or whatever it is. Now we can take a picture of everything and keep that memory.
100%.
Right? I actually took all my photos and had them digitized.
Oh, you
So I
did?
went from 30 photo albums to a thumb drive to the cloud.
Wow. So
Yeah.
so you haven't kept the albums at all, or?
I took the pictures out of the albums.
Wow.
It was a project.
Wow.
But you really, how are you going to take those? You can't take everything with you forever. This way I can share those photos with my 3 daughters, with my 3 sisters, with my father, my cousin. Anybody can have those photos. They're not just stuck on a shelf in my family room, I guess.
True.
Um,
I'm
yeah.
going to answer a question from Peter Hill. He's asking, do you find buyers are really stretching to purchase a home? Also, do most buyers you work with have a monthly budget that they are working with that includes their lifestyle expenses? So to answer the first question, Peter, I think the low rates have made affordability much more. And I think a lot of people are surprised to find out that they qualify for that much more. I mean, incomes have been increasing for a while now, and I think the fact that we have people with amazing credit scores, I think the average credit score in the US, it's over 700. So that's made for, let's say, someone that would have had to pay $300 in mortgage insurance, now paying only $100 a month. That's letting that borrower, let's say, qualify for an additional 40,000. But the biggest one is the rates. So, but most people want to know their limits. I don't, I'll try, go into the budget piece for those people that do not. I will tell them, I will ask them that, hey, what is your what are you comfortable with paying per month? I mean, I can obviously see their income. So even in cases where someone can go, let's say, up to 50% of their debt to income, like they can I will tell them that, hey, let's say you're making 8 grand a month, $4,000, with principal, interest, taxes, insurance, or even condo fees sometimes. Is that something that you'll be able to work out? You'll have those borrowers that will go to the limits. But you have to keep in mind that as people are growing in their careers, their income is also growing. And I think, with time, that their lifestyle should get easier, but we know kids arrive, and it becomes a different ball game.
I think Sajid plans these at dinner time so you can get away from like Bath and
So,
right.
but no, that's a great question, Peter. Thank you for asking. Did you want to add anything to that, Jamie? I mean, you may have some clients that probably tell you that I want to stick to this price range, or no more than $2,000 per month, or 3,000 or
Yeah,
5,000.
we don't. So it's interesting to talk to you about it because I never have the conversation that I can think of the monthly budget. What I get, I think what Peter would probably agree, or Joanne, what we get are, this is what I can afford. I'm pre-qualified for 1.5 million or 1 million or 800,000, whatever it is. This is what I can spend. We're not really I haven't been in the weeds of what the monthly budget might be. I have conversations about, do you have enough money for, you want to plan for emergencies. There's always a one-time expense. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. I think that people who are think they want to spend, we were just going to talk about the luxury market. So 1.5 million is a lot of money, but it doesn't get you a lot if you can afford 1.7 or 1.8. And so some of it is that's a big difference. I appreciate that. But I think that clients are a little disappointed by what a big difference there is in spending 1.4 or 1.5 or 1.8. If you can afford it, this is where I say, if you can afford it, buy the house.
Yep.
Because you'll either continue to be disappointed with what you're looking at, you'll just be kind of a hamster on a wheel, or you are going to be buying a house, unless you want to do all the renovation work, that's going to need all the work. It depends what you're talking about. I'm talking about some of the towns closer to Boston. I appreciate that might sound like a ton of money. It depends what you're looking for. But if you want to be closer to Boston, it's really hard. Newton is really hard. There's some really good values. I think we're also finding that some of the TV shows, the beautiful real estate TV shows, $1 million listings, everything looks so flawless.
Yeah.
That we have clients that come in, either we're bringing them through houses or we have listings. I have a listing at 396 Dedham Street in Newton with Peter Hill, and it's a beautiful, you get a lot of house for 1,695 in Newton, near a great school system, near transportation. It's not a picture perfect showing, and people have a hard time seeing it. You've got to be able to go into a house, any buyer, and clear out other people's stuff in your mind and just look at the spaces, or look at the small cosmetic projects that you might want to do to bring it up to speed. But not everything is going to be white and
Yep.
gray. It's time for, I think, buyers to become, I think everybody got a little bit spoiled because
I
everything
think
was
so.
starting to look beautiful and cleaned up and cleared up and everything was perfect. And I think buyers have to go back to being a little savvy and understanding when they have a beautiful home for sale, this is their chance to get it. And it's not going to be someone else's stuff, and it's going to be your stuff, and you're going to make it the way you want it to be.
Exactly. I
So,
mean, I think you have to compromise. I mean, especially first-time home buyers. I mean, they need to think about the fact that they're moving on from renting to, like, building equity. But that's such a great point. And do you see that, in the luxury market, for people that's coming from other states? Are they like shocked when they see like Newton prices or?
They're about to be.
Yeah,
So Jude and I are we're working together on a client who's moving from Montana. And I think that he is, they're on Zillow, which I asked them to be. I said, go and start to take a look. I need to know. And they're coming for schools for one of their sons to play hockey, and it's great. But I did recommend that you start to go on Zillow and share with me kind of the places that you like, because you're going to get a lot more for your money in Montana than you
absolutely.
probably are in towns close to, close to Logan Airport, or close to Mass Pike, close to transportation, and not too far out. So we'll see. And some of it's a learning process. I had started with clients who really thought they wanted to be closer to town, realized they couldn't get what they wanted, and the house was the most important thing, and we moved out. That's why my focus can start somewhere but really end someplace else. I had lovely clients. They started in Weston and we bought in Hopkinton, and they just have the most gorgeous new construction, like house of their dreams. And they figured out their commute and their timing. And so I always say sometimes the house chooses you.
Yeah,
You have to
no,
be willing to look for it.
it doesn't. I think right now everyone needs to be like patient until that house shows up.
Well, one of the things we talk about too for buyers is give yourself more time. So, for instance, if you have a lease and it ends the end of August, which is a pretty typical time, the rentals around here start in June or September. So if you're looking at moving in on the fall, usually we say it's about 60 days on average to close.
Yep.
Right, 60 days, not 30 days unless you have, cash in a duffel bag, but
Yeah.
60 days to get your offer accepted, have your home inspection if you're having a home inspection, apply for your mortgage, get the appraiser out, get the lawyer to read the documents. Things just take time.
Oh yeah.
So 60 days, and then it's taking longer for people to find their homes because inventory is low. So you really have to tack on some extra time. At the same time, be ready to go, because it's not really so much shopping anymore. All of a sudden, it's like, oh God, here's the house, I better grab it. So when your buyers, maybe for your clients too, when your buyers are looking for a home and they want to try to line it up with their end of their lease, they might have to factor in carrying a month or two of rent that might overlap with their purchase.
Yep.
Because if you let the house go, you might not be able to time it. And I appreciate that can be a lot of money. You don't want to be renting July and August and have a mortgage payment July and August. But if you don't make a move on your house, you might not get a seller that wants to wait till August. We're getting closer, to pushing out some of these closings, but I think the buyers really need to understand how much time it takes. Even once you've identified the property, won the bid, have a signed offer, you still need 2 more months. So if you have an
Things
August
are
close,
taking longer. I've seen closings still, in 45 days, but a good example for me, it's appraisers. That's completely out of our control.
that's a good
We'll
point.
even request rushed appraisals, and it may still take 2 weeks time for us to get back the report. So in a normal situation where we may not get a rushed appraisal, it may take a few weeks. So, underwriting for us, it's not an issue from the time that, let's say, we have all the documents and it goes into underwriting, it's within 24 to 48 hours. But one thing I'm seeing is the appraisers that are taking longer.
That's a
Um,
good,
yeah,
good thing for
attorneys
us to know.
that I work with, I'm lucky to say that, that they all do a phenomenal job to get us title and do their work on time. So yeah, I'm lucky in that sense. I'm gonna answer a question from Dana Collard. I apologize if I butchered your last name.
Collard.
Collard. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. There's 2 A's. I see it. Yep. Dana Collard. Closing costs, they will depend a lot on the purchase price. For, let's say, something in the 500 to 600 range, you're probably looking with escrows, and depending on the town, you're probably looking anywhere from 6 to 8,000. But once you get into the luxury market, over $1 million, closing costs, because you have to put escrows up front for taxes and insurance, they can run you up. I mean, it can go 10, 15, 20, sometimes as much as 30,000, depending on, the property that you're looking at. So for, like, one of the most expensive things for closing costs is title insurance, right? So for a $1 million property, you're looking about $4,200 just in, lenders and owners title insurance in Massachusetts, and that's a standard rate that every attorney will charge. So it all will depend on the purchase price.
So do you recommend, that's a great question from Dana, do you recommend, she's my daughter, but do you recommend, that like a certain percentage that people kind of hold back? I know it varies from town to town, but do you say, just based on your purchase price, make sure you have, X amount for your down payment plus X percentage of your purchase price, whatever it might be, for your closing costs, even including your real estate attorney? They can be, we've got some great real estate attorneys around here, and they are super on it with, generally I think flat fees depending on whatever happens with the deal. But how do you advise your clients on that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll see what their total funds are. I'll see what they're planning on down payment, how much money they're planning on down payment. So let's say if it's a client with 50,000 in total assets and they're looking to buy a $500,000 house, I'll give them both options. Hey, if you put 5% down, it's going to be 25,000 plus closing costs. So you should have a budget of somewhere around 35,000. Your down payment 25 plus another, 6 to 8. But to be safe, save 35, and you'll know that you're gonna start off, your new life with 15,000 in the bank. So I always tell my clients, if they can get pre-approved, do the lesser down payment initially, and then figure things out as they go. They can always put more towards the principal. Their home value could go up, so they can always either refinance or get rid of mortgage insurance by reappraising their property. But most importantly, having some money,
Human reserves.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, you're putting, this is like it's not going to be liquid funds unless you do like a home equity. So you've tied up your funds for however long you're in that property. So do as little as possible up front, and then you can always put down more.
And so this is a really tricky time for that, because on the one hand, for affordability, put down as little as you can.
I agree.
But on the other hand, if you don't put down enough, you're not winning the bid. And so, right? So you have somebody who might come in with 25 or 30% down. They only have to borrow the difference. They look like a really strong buyer. Seller's got 10 offers in front of them. Well, these folks going to qualify for 95%? Is my house going to appraise? It's getting bid over ask. But this is what
I agree.
So this is a tough call. This is a tough conversation, and I think it's a really, really important for buyers and their advisors, like their agents, like you, to figure out, and the real estate agents to figure out really what they're going to spend. Are you better off buying a $600,000 house with 5% down, or a $500,000 house with, I'm not doing the math, but with more down to make you more eligible for, we're more likely to get the house you want?
I agree with you. I think right now buyers with, first-time home buyers with 3 to 5% down are at a disadvantage in general. But there's still offers being won out there. It's just a more challenging time.
I think if you're a buyer with limited resources in terms of your down payment, but a really strong case of why you're financeable, or a really strong, pre-qualification and a really strong letter. I don't want people to feel discouraged because I literally have had sellers take buyers because of their letters and their story over price. It's not, it feels like a money grubby time because there's all these bids, but there really is something to be said out there for seller. Hopefully they have good representation. Your agent is representing you and saying, look, these folks, they only have the 5% down.
Yep.
However, whatever the story is, however, this is going to get done. You do not have to worry about this. They have a backup. They have a co-signer. Their parents are there if they need them. They have a job increase. Whatever the story is, but someone is going to be able to tell the listing agent, why you're such a strong buyer, and the buyer's agent is going to get the deal done. I mean, it really goes back to the beginning of the conversation because there are all these factors. If you go into an open house with 5% down, I think you're going to make an offer with a listing agent that just went neutral on you. Maybe. I don't know if that 1% commission break is really going to get you the deal done.
I get those calls a lot from listing agents, or I'll be making the call to the listing agent to say, that my borrower is qualified. I mean, obviously without revealing much, but I will, like they'll know how much down payment they're putting based on the offer that they're making and the pre-approval letter. But I will say, if this client has a solid or strong credit, I will say, hey, you're working with someone who has a very strong credit profile, stable employment. Obviously, we're walking a fine line, without revealing any personal, information for this client. But, I always make those calls and, let the listing agents know that, yes, the deal has been run through automated desktop underwriting system or automated underwriting system. So just to give them that extra peace of mind. I'm going to go to Peter real quick as a follow-up question. He says, as a mortgage broker, do you encourage buyers to have multiple pre-qualifications letter when it comes to making their offers? What I personally do, Peter, is I'll let the client know that they can contact me anytime, and I'll give them whatever revised pre-approval letter. The main difference between pre-approval and pre-qualification is that pre-qualification is usually stated income, nothing's verified, or credit, only credit may have been pulled. While pre-approval is something more, like I've already looked at their income, I've already looked at their assets, I've verified their credit, and ran the deal through automated underwriting system. I don't have the capability to do pre-qualification letters. Mine are straight pre-approval. But these deals will all go to underwriting after the fact. But I don't really encourage, people to have multiple. I mean, that they'll know, they'll send me like a property that they're looking at. I'll ask them what's the offer that they're trying to make, and I'll give them a couple if needed. If they're saying, oh, let me get, one at 500.
I often wonder about that. Just because somebody's qualified, say you're qualified for a $700,000 home, right? Why can't you just have a letter that says they're qualified for $700,000, but the house is $550? We're going to spend $550. I feel like it makes the lender industry kind of crazy, where we need, we need 725, we need 745. Does it really matter? Or can you just have a letter saying, I am qualified for a loan for $1 million, but I'm only spending $5. I mean, as long as you're qualified, what's the difference?
True.
Like, why does your industry? Why do we do that? Why do we do that to you?
I think it's just, I think we're all like trying to get the best, like I think we're all like fascinated about, the neighbor's house who's all like, much better than ours, and we're all trying to reach for more.
But
which
do you think you need the
is fine.
incremental letters, or can you just have a letter that says, you know, you're qualified for this, but I'm going to spend this? What's the
Yeah,
difference between?
I mean, you can. I think most people want it up to the exact pre-approval amount or the purchase price, not to show the listing agent that they can afford more or what their max budget is. I mean, that's
Sometimes I feel like it's an extra step because just because you can buy it doesn't mean you should or are
right.
going to.
I
Right?
I agree. One thing to also keep in mind is that you'll have from town to town, taxes will vary a lot, property taxes. So let's say if you have a town that taxes are $10,000 and another one that taxes for that single family five, you may not be able to qualify for that $700,000 loan because your loan officer calculated the initial numbers based off of 5,000. So that's where
It's a
a
good
good
point.
loan officer should be doing their job and asking up front, what are the areas that they're looking at, and tell them that, hey, yes, you are looking in, let's say, Quincy, but Newton, will be a much more different pre-approval letter,
So
right?
that's a great piece of advice for buyers that are hopping a little bit from town to town, trying to figure out where they should land. And you're looking at the price, and you're looking at the yard, and you're looking at the neighborhood, or how many bedrooms and bathrooms, or if your in-laws can come stay with you, or whatever you're doing. But maybe you're not quite keeping an eye on the taxes and the tax rate and how that affects your qualifications. So that's a good reminder to all of us, actually. You get busy. You kind of you're going. You're pre-approved. You're what looks best, and it's a great question even for, I think real estate agents to remember to ask their clients: are the taxes going to make a difference for you? What you qualified for the 10,000 rate or the 5,000? If you qualify for the 10,000 rate, we'll go anywhere.
Yeah.
Whatever the higher rate. But if you're not, that's a good point. It's a good reminder for me to ask any clients to talk to their lenders about whether or not their pre-qualification or pre-approval is based on a certain tax rate for homes. Because, example of our shared client who's coming to town soon, we have multiple towns we can look within, and I actually hadn't even thought about taxes. So there's a lot to think
No,
about.
yeah, there is. I mean, and like sometimes I'll make my point by saying, hey, your monthly mortgage or housing payment is $4,000. So they could be looking at different towns or different price ranges, but
Yeah.
if they're calculating that by themselves, if they're on Zillow and playing around with numbers, they can, always look at what the taxes are. And, if they play around with the purchase price now, if all of a sudden their total housing payment is 4,500, it's a ringing a bell in their head that, hey, maybe I should talk to Sidrit that I can't qualify for a house.
Right. A
So
lot of moving pieces.
yeah, and then you definitely try to educate as much as you can up front.
I think
And
it's important to have good
it's definitely helpful. It's definitely helpful, especially for first-time home buyers. I mean,
Yeah.
when I bought my house, I mean, I think my loan officer did a great job, but knowing what I know now, it's like I was like blindfolded.
Really. I think people get caught up in, we're all excited to find the property. That's the biggest thing, is find the property. But then there are a million details that go into it.
Yeah, you should definitely do as much homework as you can up front, because the moment that the offer gets accepted, it's like we got to get the ball rolling. You got to look for the homeowner's insurance. You got to look, who your attorney is going to be. I mean, you're going to be due for doing a home inspection and purchase and sale agreement. So it's all these things. There's not going to be much time left. And
Yes,
if
it's
you're not
fast.
if you're now thinking to like shop around for rates, it's like you're delaying everything. So
It's a good
that's
tool
why.
for, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's why it pays off working with a team of professionals that know what they're doing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, I think having your, you know, your realtor, your lender, you know, I recommend great real estate attorneys. It's good to remind first time or any home buyers that a home inspection is your cost. The
Yes.
buyer pays for the home inspection. That can come as a surprise. That can be anywhere from $500, $800, $1,000, and you know goes up and up from there depending on the size of the house. We recommend several inspectors to our clients, and they can choose or get their own. You know, it doesn't matter. But we can give some trusted names, and they can, you know, buyer can hire whomever they like. But that is a cost that is the buyer. For sellers, the sellers or the attorneys are the ones that draft the purchase and sale agreement. But the buyers are going to need a real estate attorney to go over that purchase and sale agreement once you have your offer accepted and make sure that everything runs smoothly, to go over the home inspection, if there are any items that need to be renegotiated or really glaring items. I suggest for buyers lately, unless there's something glaring like a structural issue, that you see your inspection a little bit as your to-do list. You know, I think there's this, because now in such a tight market, the buyers don't necessarily have, I think, as much negotiating power to go back to a seller and say, well, that screen is broken or that outlet really isn't great. You know, you're probably going to have to come into your home and hire an electrician. Talking about having some reserves, you know, hire an electrician, hire a carpenter, you know, get, besides just the painting or replacing even appliances, but there can be some inspection items that you don't love, but you love the house, but the seller had 10 offers. So it's your to-do list, and every inspection report is 59 pages. No one should be so freaked out. But it's really, you know, your real estate agent will go, you know, we go through the inspections with our clients. You get a copy with permission, we get a copy. And that's another reason to work with an agent too, to make sure someone's going through it and that it all looks okay. It's work that you can handle or you can't handle. And that's why you have an inspection contingency, to make sure if it's something that you don't like, you don't have to buy the house.
Exactly. I mean, for first-time home buyers, going into having an accepted offer right off the bat, they're going to put down $1,000. They're probably going to spend anywhere from 500 to 1,000 for an inspection, and they're going to pay upfront for the appraisal. So right off the bat, that's like what, $2,000, 2,500?
And you're hiring a real estate attorney, which maybe you don't have to pay right away, but within maybe those 45 to 60 days, you're paying a couple grand for, you know, real estate attorney. So instead of thinking, I don't like to see that all as like, oh, I have all these expenses. That's just part of the process to get you into the home of your dreams.
Exactly. But if you have, you know, the professionals to guide you, I think, you know, you'll know all these things up front. I had a question. Do you see many people waiving inspections and from your buyers or?
So I don't recommend waiving, you know, an inspection. You can let your, you know, I could tell a client, listen, you have multiple bids. We can look around the house. Maybe the house has a list of things that they've done to maintain it. Maybe somebody wants the house so badly that they're willing to take on, we're not worried about it.
Yeah.
You know, the house is solid. We've been here. We get that it's our to-do list. If they want to waive the inspection, they can waive the inspection. A lot of buyers are waiving inspections to win the bid. It's just a risk. It's just a risk that you're taking, and it's important to know the age of the house. It's important to know the age of the systems and the roof, to look for any damage, you know, to look for any water damage, to look for any, you know, the paint smells fresh. If you're in a situation where you don't have a multi-bid and you just, it's a normal course of business, I always recommend a home inspection anyway. You know, not having a home inspection concerns me, and it seems to be more of a pattern right now with multi-bid situations. If you do decide to proceed without a home inspection, you can request one either after the purchase and sale, which means you've already put 5% down and you're committed to buying the house. They still might not like, it still mimight be a no. Or do
Correct.
yourself a favor and have a home inspection after you close. And you might have a little heart attack, but at least it's your to-do list. And no one needs, I don't know, it happened to me.
That's such a good point. I mean,
It
I
happened.
never thought about it that way, doing inspection out. I doubt many people do, but that's a great way to put it. Like
I had a bad experience in my own home, and I wish I'd had like a home inspection later. It's a terrible story, but it's not a
did
bad
you
idea.
waive your inspection?
Yeah, because I was doing a renovation, but the builder wasn't really aware of what was going on, with the house.
Yeah.
So you can get emotional when you're buying, and I understand that too. So I think I'm able to provide that to my clients too. I get it. It's really, really stressful to figure out where you're going to be. But there are a lot of ways to protect yourself too. And even a home inspection after.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that the gutters are really a mess. I didn't know we were going to have to replace the gutters. Well, even if you had known that beforehand, it doesn't mean that the seller would have done it.
Correct.
So it's a risk you have to be willing to take, and you really really need someone on your side to do it. I don't know how to stress it enough. Do not go it alone. Whatever you think that the commission might be shaved a little bit or something that's going to make the seller sell it to you, I think you're gonna lose on the other end.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you've seen this over and over in your number of years doing this. So
Careful.
it's like so in the past few years.
Yeah.
But it's so important. What about mortgage contingency? Do you see that being waived? I don't see many, but I hear some.
I mean, the only way to do that is if you really have all the money to buy the house. So the mortgage contingency, you write up, if you have 10%, you're going to have a mortgage contingency for 90%. 20%, you have a mortgage contingency saying that you can borrow what's left of your purchase price, and that it has to pass the appraisal from the bank, and that your income qualifies you for that kind of a loan. But if you waive it, you can't.
Or you don't care about your purchase and sale deposit, which could be 5% of your.
That's a good point too. That's a good point. But waiving that, you better have the money for it. Some people now, if they have the cash and they don't really want to spend the cash, but they actually have the cash, you can waive the mortgage contingency and show proof of funds. You can still apply for a loan. And the broker might get a call 2 weeks later, hey, we have an appraiser coming. Oh, this is a cash offer, but all right, I guess they're borrowing money after all. If you get refused, you still have to come up with that cash.
100%.
Or you can buy the house and pull out a home equity loan, after you close, and you can pull the money after, out of it. So if you have cash, it's a good time to go that route because it's so competitive out there.
Oh yeah, 100%. And maybe do a cash out refinance later and get your money back.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
If you have it or a lot of it, you can maybe put more down and make if you can put more money down, you're a stronger offer. That goes completely against what you said about not putting too much down and keeping money in the bank. So
that's more for like a normal, environment,
Nothing's normal right now.
No, we're not. Any advice for like someone starting out new, any newbies, like what would you say to them? I mean, it's kind of brutal, like starting out.
For the real estate agents?
Yeah.
I think that if I was a new agent, I would align myself, on a team or with a mentor, work for someone for a while. It's a little tricky because eventually you might want to be on your own. I think if you're young, being on a team is a great way to do it if it works for you and you can figure out your split. Everybody does it differently. Real estate never sleeps. So if you have a young family, or if you want to have a young family, you want to be in this business, you've got to figure out some kind of balance. I have 0, but you want to figure out some kind of balance. I stopped when my when Dana was born, and she's my second out of three. And when I came back into the business a few years ago, I was thinking, oh, I should have stayed. This is really kind of fun. But sometimes I'm reminded why I didn't do it. And I give the agents with, and you're same with you, young kids at home. It's really challenging to figure out how to carve out your time. But, learn the business and understand that your relationships with your clients are important, but your relationships with your fellow agents are even more important. My friend Peter Hill really has taught me and mentored me through that, and it's really true. You really want to have good relationships with the agents that you're working with in all these communities, because the buyer is going to buy and move. That's it, until they call you 10 or 15 years later, and maybe they're selling again. The seller is going to sell and going to go on, but it's the agent. It's a relationship with the agent. So if you're a new real estate agent, get to know the other agents, establish yourself as a genuine and honest and ethical person, work hard, show them you're willing to do what it takes to get the job done. There are so many things to learn. So if you have office meetings, if you have learning opportunities, the teammate courses are great, but they really are. They really are refreshers, but I just say take the opportunity to learn and listen and be aligned with some successful people. There are a lot of nuances. Have someone you can have on speed dial to ask questions.
I completely agree. I had a great mentor. When I started, it was a small broker, and I think that for me made it much. Now I value it even more because I feel like I got my, I was like so hands-on and with everything, and I had someone to go to.
Yeah.
But yeah, having a mentor is key, and I have a lot of respect for you and a lot of the real estate agents out there, because it's tough. It's not an easy, job, and it's there's so many real estate agents. A lot of them, part-time, never mind the full-time ones, just like you, but then you throw in Zillow and Redfin, and you're able to make a living out of it, and I commend that a lot. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why the buyer's agency, I think even more and more, is more important, because you have a lot of competition, not just with other agents, but with apps.
Yeah.
So, and you're only so many hours in a day. So if you're out there, for new real estate agents, think about start your career by meeting buyers. Let them interview you. You interview them, they interview you. If it's a good fit, you sign an agreement, and you just use the word standard. This is my standard buyer's representation agreement. I'm going to work really hard for you. When we find the property that you love, I'm going to do a big market analysis. I'm going to help you come up with pricing. We're going to go through all of these steps together. I'm going to work with you. I think that's really, really important. I think trust your gut. And I guess the last thing I would say is it's a slow roll. And when you're new, any deal feels like so immediate, but it can take days to negotiate a deal, and then just breathe through it and stick with the priorities for your clients and be there for them, and they will end up trusting you. So even if a deal falls apart or they don't get the bid, they're going to stick with you because you've been genuinely interested and caring for them and for their needs, and not some kind of like hysteria, we have to get it done, because it just takes time.
It does. It definitely does. I mean, it took time for me. I mean, the first year, it's definitely rocky, especially if you're going from like a salaried position. But for those people that don't have the financial means to, support themselves, always have a side gig. I mean, like Uber, Lyft. There's so many like jobs in the gig economy nowadays that, you could put a few days and like you still can make the same amount of money that you were, as a salaried employee, and
It's a good point.
and like be able to do, to be a full-time realtor. Yes, you're not going to have the same protections and the same benefits as a W-2 employee, But my opinion is, I mean, if you're taking this risk for the long term, it's worth it. You know, like it will be a little tough and rocky in the beginning, but over the long run, it will pay off if you're, you know, truly genuine
Establish
and doing a
yourself.
good job.
You know, TikTok has a ton of gig economy ideas. You can be an Amazon reseller. You can read children's books for audio books and get paid for them. I'm always looking at this, like, how are these people making all this money? They're making a ton of money. They're ordering from wherever and they're having them shipped. They're not having any inventory. There's a lot of side hustle going on out there. And frankly, on TikTok, they're teaching you how to do it. They're literally, if I had more energy and I was younger, like
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity out there, and it's a good point. And um, you know, it's a good point in the beginning. It's really, really hard to count on your sales, and you do have to figure that out, which is why maybe being on a team or establishing some hours, or maybe you work with a larger team where they give you some kind of a base plus commission, and you start to get your feet under you. And if you bring in a buyer or you bring in a listing, then maybe you get a little bigger piece of the pie. But it does take time to grow it. And
100.
even then, I cannot tell you that I have any kind of regular income.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you
you
learn
gotta save.
to live through it and exactly kind of like, you know, be better at budgeting and saving money. And you know that some months are not going to be as good as others.
Right, you try to take the whole cumulative, and I think you have to remember too, if you're a real estate agent, that you're working with people. Um, buying a house or selling a house is, often listed as one of the most stressful times in people's lives. So you have some compassion and some patience. I think we see people at their worst. I
Yep.
really do. There's a lot going on behind the scenes we might never know. There might be death, there might be divorce, there might be financial hardship, there might be disappointment, there might be worse. We just don't really know. And people are stressed about finding, affording, selling, whatever changes. And I think having some compassion and some empathy for people's process and trying to let them go through their process and not try to control their process. I've learned the hard way, believe me, because you don't really know people all the time, but you try to be a good listener.
Oh, 100%. I think that's key to a lot of, you know, successful people. If you're a good listener, you'll catch everything that the person needs and you know, be able to serve them correctly. But one of the first things I learned quickly when I started in banking was don't take it personal. You know,
I'm still trying
especially
to
when
learn
you're
that.
dealing with their money. I mean, people can get really personal about it, but as long as you don't, you know, a day goes by and they'll be fine again. But yeah, I try not to take it personal. I mean, just like you said, there could be a number of reasons why someone is in the state.
That's good advice, and I will take that advice.
That's great. Thank
have,
you.
have, a, have a thick skin. You gotta have a
Yeah,
thick
I do.
skin. We
um,
definitely do.
I'll answer Peter. He's saying, what is the minimum number of years of employment continuity that lenders are looking for? So lenders are going to look at a stable employment for at least 2 years, as long as you know you can show a 2-year work history or employment history that the income has been the same or increasing. Then you should be in good standing. If there's decreases, they're going to ask you why. If you're self-employed, you're going to be documented your life these days, like
Yeah.
where all the money is coming from, and you know, like matching the deposits, making sure that you're on track of to make the same as or more than the prior year due to COVID. Um, so yeah, self-employed borrowers are having a little tougher time with documentation, but for most W-2 borrowers, not much has changed, I would say.
Good question. Good question.
I hope that answers your question, Peter. Hey, do you have Ranger there? Can we see Ranger?
You want to see Ranger?
Yes,
It
please.
might be, it might be the end of this chat.
All right, we'll wait for Ranger, guys.
Bob.
Ranger is Jamie's dog, and she recently just got him. She can tell us the story, but he's beautiful.
Special. He does not come to work with me.
No, no.
That I can assure you. He does not come to work with me. On the computer.
Yeah,
He is.
Ranger is beautiful. I know you've posted some stories. Is he there?
He's coming. He's coming out of his giant crate.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
This was not part of the script, guys.
This is not part of the script. We wanted things. I wanted things to be a little quiet, but he can. He'll make a guest appearance. He'll make a guest. If anybody's looking for security in their home, I got the dog. We got the dog for you. Bob's in the security business, and we have Belgian Malinois. We drove up from Texas a few weeks ago through all the COVID and right before the storms. Oh, look at him. Here he is. Let's see.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Ranger. Let's see if I can turn my camera. Here we go.
Hey, Ranger. How you doing? Hi, Bob. Sorry.
Hello. Yeah, this is Bob Kinder. There we go. So this is questionable whether or not the house carries the dog well.
He's fully trained and he seems very well behaved.
He's under Bob's control right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Here we go. He's pretty good.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome.
He'd like to hang out, but he'd eat anything. He ate one of the hospital masks. Just the off the kitchen counter last night, so that didn't go well. Thank you.
I love dogs personally, but we kind of spoke about this. My wife, used to be very scared of them, and she's getting better now. Her sister has 2 dogs, so
I wouldn't start with this one.
No.
Although it's funny, we have little dogs too, but we had little dogs. But little dogs can be, if you have a bad experience and stuff. But she's
getting better. I think eventually, once the kids grow older, I think I would love to get a dog.
Well, when they're babies and you start with them as babies, the dogs, it's easier.
Yeah, definitely. So you drove to Texas. Wow.
We did, but before the ice storm, so I was happy. So it was so great to talk to everybody.
Yeah, no, this was amazing. I mean, I love, 2020 and 2021 have been challenging, but I love the day and age that we live in with technology. I mean, we've met here on Instagram, and I've made many meaningful relationships like you, and I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. It's a fun community. When people are isolated, I think this has become kind of a fun community. We're working with clients, but then you get to talk a little shop and invite people in to chat with us. You can always, of course, DM us anytime and ask us questions. But, it's been fun. I get to see Cedric every day. I get to see the kids. I know what's going on. It's about Ranger.
I love it. I love it. No, I appreciate you. I mean, this was amazing. This was so much great content, and I think we'll go back and rewatch some of it and maybe repost some of it.
That sounds great.
But say hi to Bob, and
I will. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. No, we'll do it again.
Okay.
Eventually we will.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. Bye.